Hey peeps. So, we are doing our random page of poetry session, or RP squared, as I like to call them. I don't know if that's actually going to catch on, but we're going to give it a go. So, I'm going to show you guys that it's going to be random. So, here we go. I'm just going to. Oh my gosh, big book. Big book. Oh my gosh. Flip. Ah. Oh my goodness. I think I'm gonna just laugh every time I do this. Okay. I was not expecting this one, but it's perfect for right now. Okay. It's called Homework by Jane Yolen. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Jane. Okay, this poem is pretty dang good. This is good actually. All right. What is it about homework that makes me want to write? My great aunt Mert, to thank her for the sweater that's too tight. What is it about homework that makes me pick up socks that stink from days and days of wear, then clean the litter box? What is it about homework that makes me volunteer to take the garbage out before the bugs and flies appear? What is it about homework that makes me wash my hair and take an hour combing out the snags and tangles there? What is it about homework? You know, I wish I knew. 'Cause nights when I've got homework, I've got I've got much, too much to do. So much, too much. What's the difference? Okay, need I say more? This poem is just, it bops. If it, it's just so, it's so great. Again, we get why I picked this book. We get more of that rhymey, sing-songy, um, stressed, all those good types of aspects of this type of poetry that makes telling the storytelling, the comedic elements so much more. Uh, it just gives it that extra punch. Uh, so, because throughout the text, you will see the questions. That's how I know to ask each piece of text in like with that questioning, like, what is this? I had no idea. I like so you get that pitched questioning. So the sweaters that's too tight, there's a question mark at the end. And so we have the author questioning, asking the reader, what is it about homework that just makes you want to do all your other things that you'd rather not do first? Like, what is about this specific chore that makes it more daunting than doing all these undesired tasks? And she goes off a couple of stereotypes, right? There's the aunt who gave you that item that she just missed the ball because she's not with you all the time, and she just gave you something that a 5-year-old would have wore and you're 10 years old, right? Or there's the classic litter box. Now, I don't own cats. I'm allergic to cats, but I imagine that if one had to take care of a cat, the responsibilities that came with owning a pet, especially one like a cat, the animal can't go to the bathroom outside, for example, or in a box, and the box is open on the ground. That is going to be, where she's appealing to the senses, like it's gonna stink, right? And we get more of that, the good description stuff when she's talking about taking out the garbage and the flies are going to appear, right? And that's, a textual clue, the author's giving us, where flies appear around garbage. That tells us, ooh, it's really stinky, it's really bad. So she's kind of upping the ante as she goes down too. Like, what if it was this? But what if it was this? Like, it's it's brilliant. Um, And then there's this one that I this might be more towards for that time period. I might have to look up when Jane Yolen was around, but I think it was more back, back. Um, but it was what is it about homework that makes me wash my hair and take an hour combing out the snags and tangles there? Um, this one I love because now she kind of like switches it up, like in this quatrain. It's almost like a very Shakespearean way of doing it, right? Where now it's like you would rather do difficult tasks, right? Now it's you want to do things that you want to take extra time doing these tasks, combing out your hair, making sure, just taking more time than you normally would to enjoy and like relish that rather than doing your homework, which almost lends itself to self-care, like no. And so it's questioning again, what is it about homework that makes it so much more challenging? Um, and it's almost lending itself to that idea of tasks that are mindless. She'd rather do those, even if they're tough, like emotionally, physically. Ugh, the book. But homework is one of those things you got to use your brain. You have to practice something that's hard. You've never done it before, versus these other things, while they may be hard, you know what to expect, right? Flies will appear, but you know these evils. So, and then she kind of um, brings it round town, which again makes me feel like she definitely copied it very much a Shakespearean set. Very inspirational to that. I love it. What is about homework? I wish I knew because nights when I've got homework, I've got much too much to do, right? Which is again kind of that re emphasizing of the theme. Like, I'd rather do anything else, like all the hard things before this, because the idea of doing homework is just so daunting where I might make a mistake and I don't get that automatic, like, satisfaction of completing a task. So, I really, really enjoy this. It would be very fun to kind of look up Miss Jane Yolen and see kind of her inspirations for writing this because ultimately I think that this idea about homework is very much a universal idea. I think that if you were to read this to multiple places, I think that they would find some relatable part of that. Um, a lot of places call it homework. And when I'm saying places, I'm referring to other parts of the world, of course, but let's just do it for fun real quick. I'm kind of curious. This is something I would probably do if I was thinking about, introducing poetry like daily and just kind of doing like an entrance task where I read like a short poem with the kids and have them like talk about like comprehension, like what is the author saying, and then having him do like an exit slip. I might say, okay, go research the author of the poem that we read right at the beginning of class, whatever, and the poem will always like be an anchor to the theme or the content or the skill or whatever we're trying to teach that unit or that lesson. But I would have them like research. So like let's say Jane Yolen, she's an American writer, which yeah, um, fantasy, science fiction, and children's books. Which her style, you get that, like how we were talking about before, that rhymey style. Um, oh, cool. She's actually the author and editor of more than 350 books. Very nice. Oh, and she actually, fun fact, because we just finished Anne Frank, y'all remember. She is best known in The Devil's Arithmetic. Arithmetic? Wow. A Holocaust novella. So that's kind of interesting, actually. She was born 1939. Okay. She's still alive. I'm thinking yes. Okay, she's 81 years old. So she was born right in those precursor years leading up to World War II. So you think about it, she then grew up as an adult and then wrote stories about it. She would have been a child what an impressionable time for a child. Um, and so this, like, her style, like, is, it makes sense that she would turn to writing child's books, trying to cling to things like that innocence and um, empathy and kind of centering it on some type of like a moral compass that isn't like impacted by religion or anything, but just like good human principle type of thing. It's very cool style. Um, and she also, okay, it says here she also does fantasy and science fiction. So again, we get that, you know, what I love, right, about science fiction and fantasy, where we get to kind of interpret or analyze a reality from a distance because it has that fantasy element or bodice, right? So very, very cool. So let's take a look at some books that she's read, because that would be then the follow-up, right? Is okay, maybe you might not like the poetry, but maybe you want to read a book instead. You actually want to do a bigger piece. So, fun fact, oh my gosh, she wrote How Do Dinosaurs Say Goodnight? And I absolutely loved this book when I was a kid. That's so cool. Okay. Briar Rose by Jane Yolen was another book she wrote, and it came out in 1992. That's the year I was born, for anybody who was curious. Dragon's Blood, The Emperor and the Kite, very cool. Wizard's Hall. So all kinds of different books. So let's just look at a couple more. Oh, and she wrote a couple more children's books. Piggins, Kite for Moon, Sword of the Rising, or the Rightful King, excuse me, Sword of the Rightful King. Wow, so a lot of Middle Ages and stuff. She actually sounds like an author, like I might actually like her books because I really, really enjoy the Middle Ages and like historical fiction type things. Oh my goodness, she's written a lot. Okay, so a really cool way to introduce more literature to kids, if I do say so myself. And this was again from the Read Aloud Poems for Young People. So, and it was one of the marked ones too, just so you guys know. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did.